Saturday evening. Some heavier rain for a time across the far north of Scotland, particularly Orkney and Shetland. Elsewhere, though, it is a dry picture, again with lengthy clear periods for good parts of England and Wales. Some clear spells for Northern Ireland and the rest of Scotland too. But whether it's cloudy or it's clear, it's going to be quite a warm night with temperatures no lower than the low to mid-teens. So the air mass is starting to warm up. A few uncomfortable nights ahead, perhaps, for some of us. And then Sunday, we do it all over again. So a wet start across the far north of Scotland, particularly Orkney and Shetland, but that rain should tend to clear away. And then I think more widely we'll see some sunshine through Sunday. So where we've had quite a bit of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, well, more sunshine here, temperatures widely a little bit higher than on Saturday. And that sets the scene for a warming trend with plenty of sunshine into next week. For some of us, temperatures into the low 30s.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment.
We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Good evening. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. Patrick Christys hasn't lost his northern accent and suddenly become better looking. I'm in fact a totally different person. My name is Andrew Doyle and I'm sitting in for Patrick for this edition of the Friday Night Feast. Yes, while Patrick has a well-earned few days off, I'm here to lead you into the weekend with some lively debates, some great guests and a few laughs along the way. I'll have all the regular features, of course, including Challenge Christys with a difference.
So I've been sent here to Sidcup. I don't know where that is, but we're here anyway. And this is what's here, big dinosaur. So I don't know what this is about. I don't know if it's a Jurassic Park thing, if it's a sciencey thing, if I have to clone my own velociraptor or something like that. I don't know. We're going to find out.
We'll also highlight a rescue dog, and tonight we're asking if you can rehome Margot in our popular feature, Dog of the Week. We'll meet the woman who claims she can predict the next Tory leader by using the power of asparagus. And there's the story of the blasphemous sandwich, as I have a good look round your parts. Yes, you heard that right. And how about this? There will be nudity on the show. Yes, that's something to look forward to, isn't it? But first, here's the latest news headlines brought to you this evening by Ray Addison.
Quite the lineup. Good evening, I'm Ray Addison in the GB Newsroom. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak has launched his bid to be the next leader of the Conservative Party and ultimately the next Prime Minister. Posting online, he said he wanted to restore trust, rebuild the economy and reunite the country. Prominent Tory backbencher Tom Tugendhat has also declared that he will run. New Education Secretary James Cleverly told GB News there'll be plenty of decent candidates.
Personal circumstances mean that I won't be putting myself forward, but I'm also confident that we have a pool of talent which will enable us to choose someone with fantastic experience, whoever that might be.
So Keir Starmer has been cleared by police of breaking lockdown rules last year. The Labour leader and his deputy, Angela Rayner, had promised to resign if they were fined. Video shows him drinking beer over a takeaway curry with colleagues during a visit to Durham in April 2021, but police say they obeyed the law. Speaking at a press conference earlier, he said truth and integrity matter.
People said to me I was taking a risk by saying I would step down if I was fined. But it was never about that. For me, it was a matter of principle. It shouldn't be controversial to say that those who make the law can't break the law. But we have to set the bar far higher than that.
To international news, and Japanese police say former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was assassinated using a handmade gun. He was at a political campaign event in the city of Nara when he was shot from behind. He later died in hospital. Police say they've arrested a 41-year-old who's already confessed to the crime. The Queen has sent a message of condolence to the Emperor of Japan, saying she's deeply saddened following Mr. Abe's death. So Mark Rowley is the new commissioner of the Met Police. He replaces Dame Cressida Dick, who announced that she was leaving the role back in February. So Mark is a former counter-terrorism officer who left the force 4 years ago. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, says he's the best person for the job.
A series of appalling scandals have not only exposed deep cultural problems within the Met, but have contributed to a crisis of confidence in London's police service. Sir Mark has made clear to me that he's determined to be a reforming commissioner.
And Cameron Norrie has lost his semi-final match against Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon. The 26-year-old British #1 was defeated by 3-1 on centre court. He's only the fourth British man to ever reach the last four at the All England club. On TV, online and on DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to Friday Night Feast.
For a while there, it was looking like Boris Johnson would go full Scarface. He wasn't leaving, no matter how many bullets they fired at him. But now he's agreed to step down. So where does this leave the country? As he kept pointing out, 14 million people voted for him, and this was a mandate to, as Boris put it, get Brexit done. And he did, sort of. But now there are people claiming that the referendum result and its implementation can be undone with Johnson out of the way. Former Deputy Prime Minister Michael Heseltine has said, if Boris goes, Brexit goes, and has urged whoever takes over the top job to renew ties with Brussels. It never ceases to amaze me how so many politicians appear to have such an insecure grasp of how democracy works. You'd think they, of all people, would get it. First, we had the spectacle of Parliament trying to undo the referendum result, and then they wanted to get people to vote again, because obviously the little people didn't understand what they were voting for. I mean, who behaves like that? Well, the EU does. The EU also gets countries to hold second referendums if they vote the wrong way, like when Denmark voted against the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, or when Ireland voted on the Nice Treaty in 2001 and the Lisbon Treaty in 2008, or when the Greek people rejected austerity measures, so the EU imposed them anyway. Don't you dare challenge your overlords. They know what's best for you. And now, following Johnson's resignation, there have even been crowdfunders online who have raised thousands of pounds towards a new campaign to reverse Brexit, as though democracy can just be bought. And, of course, the reason why Boris secured an 80-seat majority in the first place was because ministers were attempting to thwart the largest democratic mandate this country has ever seen. It wasn't just Leave voters who reacted against this. Many people who voted Remain were furious that the principle of democracy was being ignored by the very people elected to maintain it. In particular, of course, left-wing voters who would never dream of supporting the Tories lent them their votes. This is hardly surprising, given that 70% of Labour constituencies voted to leave the EU. So Labour's second referendum pledge in their manifesto felt like a bit of a slap in the face to their core demographic. And this is the whole point. Brexit was so much bigger than Boris. It wasn't about him at all. The mandate that saw him gain power is still extant, even if he's snuffed it. And the problem with all these various new contenders for the throne is that we don't know what they stand for, really. We don't know if the new leader will try to take the country in a direction that completely undermines the mandate on which Boris was elected. So with that in mind, I would argue that whoever wins the Tory leadership should immediately call a general election. And before anyone starts complaining online, I know they're not obliged to do that, but as a matter of principle, I think they should. The new leader ought to outline their goals and let the voters decide. And to be honest, I don't think it's at all likely that whoever wins would dare to attempt what Lord Heseltine is suggesting. I don't think, as some people have suggested, that the ousting of Boris was a coordinated plot to overturn Brexit. It was far too slapdash for that. It was more like a group of zombies turning on one of their own because they were feeling a bit peckish. But I will say that if Heseltine is right and a new leader does emerge who wants to take us back into the EU, he or she is in for a shock. Because if there's one thing we've learned from the past few years, the electorate doesn't like it when they're insulted. And however much power the elites in Westminster think they've got, it's nothing compared to the power of the ballot box. And joining me this evening are two very close personal friends of mine, Josh Howie and Sajila Kershi. Welcome. Welcome to this wonderful show. Could you tell me your responses to what I just said? What do you think about... I know you're very anti-Brexit, Josh.
I was anti-Brexit.
You're very angry about it.
I'll say, first of all, it's happened. So yes. Let's make the best of it, which I don't think Boris has done.
OK.
I will say there's a few things, as you were doing your monologue, that occurred to me. Number one is I believe now the majority of the country actually think Brexit was a mistake or don't want it, but that's whatever.
What polling have you done?
I don't know, just the polling in my head.
This intuition?
Polling in North London.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, the whole second referendum, I've come around to that now. I understand that we shouldn't have had a second referendum. Yeah. At the time, though, the argument was, I know you're saying that people are going back on it, but for me, it's like fighting democracy with having more democracy. And it's not thinking that the people who originally voted to leave idiots. It's just maybe the way that it was framed could have been put better. Actually a true understanding of what Brexit meant.
Yeah, but you could say that about every single election we've ever had.
OK, well, this is a very specific question, and it's whether people actually wanted the kind of Brexit that we have actually had, which is being fully taken out.
So it's interesting because
of the common market.
I think there's a couple of things there. I mean, firstly, what you could say is that we do get a chance every few years to change our minds. But the problem with the Brexit thing is it wasn't implemented before people started saying we should change our minds. So what I would have supported is implementing Brexit and then having a referendum about whether we wanted to go back in. Well, then that would be fine.
But then if we're going to have elections now, maybe if someone said, let's have an election to close the ties, then that's all good.
Yeah,
OK.
That's fine by me.
Which I actually don't think Keir Starmer will do at all. I think he knows it. I think he thinks it's toxic, rightly so.
What do you think,
Well,
Sajila?
I think we have, in the same... I was a Remainer, or a Mona, as they love to call us so affectionately. OK, democracy was done. But in the back of my head, it was always like, it's only 52%, and also people didn't know what necessarily they were voting.
Of course they knew.
But you can say that. But actually, in the poll, not just in my head, Josh, not just my head, the poll that I've done with my friends and family, who have now decided that they would actually be Remainers if the vote happened again. But we've had a few years of this, people trying it out, seeing what's working, how it's worked out for us. Has it worked out? Then perhaps I think, it is time to have another,
it hasn't worked out.
I don't agree.
Also this idea that we're going to go, we are out. I don't understand how, get Brexit done. Brexit's done. We're out of the EU. Why do we keep going on about this?
Let me explain why you're both wrong.
Okay.
So, firstly, to say that people didn't know what they were talking about is a nonsense.
Some people did know what they were.
The reason why it's such a nonsense is, of all the elections we've ever held, this was the one where people knew more. This was the one where we had months and months and months of public debate. People were discussing it at the bus shelter, in the pubs, everywhere. For once, people were really energised by politics, and they knew so much about this.
I think the people who were energised about politics were energised about politics.
That's my point. Okay. Everyone was. Okay. And that we don't get that normally. So I think that argument falls very flat. But when we're talking about Boris and whether... I think, you're right to mention this idea, why are we even talking about it now? But people like Lord Heseltine are saying, no, Jacob Rees-Mogg said that this was a plot. I don't believe it. I don't think it's true.
OK, so Boris didn't work out. And it is feasible to it didn't work out, so it's an understatement, isn't it, really? But if it could, be reasonable to assume that those people who gave him that mandate are now thinking, well, look, we've had the pandemic, because we never thought the pandemic was going to happen before we went down the Brexit route, and now we've seen the things that are happening. It's across. Like obviously we're an island. We're going to be relying on these deals, and we haven't got exactly.
Of course, if it weren't for Brexit, we wouldn't have had the fastest vaccine rollout in the country.
And I agree with that. But some of the things I feel like were slightly misleading in your monologue in terms of saying that the 80-seat majority was a vote for Brexit. I believe that the polls that I've read, actual polls, said that one of the biggest factors was that Corbyn was such a turn-off to the populace, and his sort of his sort of pro-Russian stance and all the other stuff was that was also a major factor in people voting for Boris instead.
Well, OK, it's interesting to see how people will go now. I wonder, though, whether, when you have a new leader installed, if they do choose to take the party in a completely different direction, it might be the case that they might want to do that, because we don't know who it's going to be. But surely we have to go back to the public. I mean, I'm a big believer in democracy, I think how can they run on a mandate that is completely different to what Boris Johnson won the 80-seat majority for? Part of that is Brexit, but it's not just Brexit.
No.
This was a much bigger mandate than that. So
those who gave the mandate can change their minds.
Sure.
So if you take it back to the public, give them the vote, and I think it's about time, because I don't want to necessarily agree with Sturgeon, but she said, like, we keep having leaders that we've not elected. So let the public elect the next one.
Just because I'm not Conservative doesn't mean I can't acknowledge that the Conservatives don't have good ideas. Levelling up is a good thing. The rest of the country, the money needs to be levelled up, and it needs to be made fair in transportation.
A lot of the contenders for the new leadership won't be going along with the levelling up idea with big
Well,
states.
then that's going to hurt them, because the red wall is going to go back red.
I mean, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, in a sense, the Conservative Party does owe quite a lot to all those people whose vote it didn't steal them. It was borrowed, wasn't it? It was sort of they were lending their vote. And I tell you what, those people in the red wall areas to vote Tory was a horror for them. They were really holding their nose at the ballot box. I mean, they were, because they hated the Tories. They always have. So who do you think it's going to be? Now, so we've got Johnson. I'm going to ask for you. I've got a psychic coming on later who says that she can predict.
I actually don't think Johnson is going.
What?
This is a kind of weird thing.
Until he's gone, I cannot believe that he's going. I feel like he's going to somehow create his own pie, or he's like. It doesn't matter that he's not head of the Conservative Party anymore.
He wants the wallpaper. He wants to
keep that. Well, he needs that time to peel it down and see if he can.
So what about it off?
What about the idea? We were discussing this on Headliners the other night. What about the idea that he's holding on because he wants his wedding party in Chequers?
Well, now I understand that that's changed, or they've taken the venue.
Have they?
Else. That's what I heard.
Just get a room in a little chef. Just hire a room like everyone else does.
I took my son to this jumping in place, it's like a trampoline place the other day. It's got a big space upstairs. It's pretty good. I imagine it'd be pretty cheap.
It'd be great for a wedding.
It'd be amazing. Have a laugh, have a proper laugh, get drunk, jump on the thing.
Chequers is too formal for a wedding. I think this is wrong. So what do we think? So other candidates, right? Now, my money, I'm going to just put it out there, because I'm never right when I predict. I'm not like the psychic we've got later. I'm never right. I think Liz Truss. I think Liz Truss is going to win it. Right, and I don't know why I think that.
She drinks champagne with her face. She has, what is it she calls it? Champagne with Truss. She was been having. The funny thing is, this has all been gearing up now for months. Like Rishi Sunak's website was registered 6 months ago.
Oh, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they all. Supposedly Liz Truss has been having these champagne cocktail drinks on Friday afternoons. They've been schmoozing. They know this is.
And she rushed back. Rushed back when that resignation went in.
I don't want it to be her, but I agree it could well be her.
What about there are other? I mean, we've even got backbenchers sort of coming out of the woodwork saying that they want to do this. I mean, people knock Ben Wallace and everything. He has got ministerial experience. He's pretty tough. Army guy.
I kind of like the Tugendhat bloke. I can't even pronounce
Tom
his name.
Tugendhat, yeah. I've met him. I like him personally. I think he's a really nice, really smart, really interesting guy. What do you think?
I don't know. I went through that list on the Headliners and I was just like, oh, no.
You didn't like it?
I just was going through all of them, all the little misdemeanors.
Rory Stewart is someone
and actually, somebody messaged me...
Rory Stewart?
No, who am I thinking about? Rory... the guy, the Scottish guy, who was the leadership contention last time.
No, Boris Stewart.
He's not. I know he's not an MP anymore.
I'm just surprised that you've mentioned him as a...
Is there any rule that they could somehow bring him in? Does he have to be an MP to be the...
I think listen, everyone should go for it.
We've got to move on, because I think you should go for it, Sajila. Anyway, we love to hear from you on the Friday Night Feast, and you can email us. Go right ahead. It's gbviews@gbnews.uk. Want to hear your thoughts And of course, you can tweet us as well, and that's just at GB News. And if you're very lucky, I might read out your message a little later in the show. Up next, though, we've got our big debate. What does Boris Johnson's resignation mean for Brexit? I'll get both sides of that argument in 2 minutes' time. See you in a moment.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV, on radio,
On digital, absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
we embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go? Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Feast. Let's get to one of the Prime Minister's biggest legacies, the government's support of Ukraine in the war with Russia. So Johnson walked the streets of the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, with President Zelensky in April. He also visited the country just 4 weeks ago. And Zelensky has said the Prime Minister is a true friend of Ukraine. So to discuss Boris Johnson's decision to resign and what it might mean for Ukraine, I'm joined now by Ukrainian MP Sviatoslav Yurash. Sviatoslav, thanks very much for joining us today.
Greetings. Thank you very much.
Can you give us some sense, from your perspective, of how Boris Johnson is regarded in Ukraine and among the public there?
As a hero who took supporting in terms of rallying the world in support of Ukraine. And he was very clear before the invasion that the unacceptable nature of Russian incursion into Ukraine. And in his address to the parliament, address to Ukrainian people, his conversation with the president, he always said the points which made the clearest sense to the world, which was trying to listen, but thanks to Boris Johnson, it did. So we are grateful. We will be forever grateful. And he has certainly deserved a place in Ukraine's history books. Friend that Ukraine had in the time of utmost need.
And of course, we've heard from Vladimir Putin and the Russians that they regard Boris Johnson as a clown. They're obviously very angry with Boris Johnson. They're glad to see him go. That surely doesn't surprise you very much.
It does not. The Russians are certainly the experts in clowning the world and trying to make fools or respectable, so-called respectable politicians who are basically towing their line and pretending nothing's happening. No matter what the war is, whether it's the conflict in Ukraine or it's the Russian destruction of Syria or the Russian efforts in Africa, America. The reality is that Boris Johnson has taken a clear stand that will remember history books, while so many others look the other way. And that, for us, is something that Russia cannot tolerate. And therefore, that enemy that Russia has made in Boris Johnson is a great friend, not just to the Ukraine, but to the entire civilized world.
At the moment in the UK, Boris Johnson's polls are very, very low in terms of public support for Boris Johnson. It's not just the parliamentary party. Do you think that, in a sense, the British perspective is quite narrow on this and that they're not thinking about Boris Johnson's performance on the global stage?
Reading the 500-page biography of Boris Johnson by some of his critics, you can understand that that man has a long history of being all over the public and all over the political question with the support. The reality is the battle that he is waging politically is not something, and I'm sure that he has another day that he will rally to and have chance to return to politics. He is a man full of ideas and now full of achievements, and Ukraine can attest to that. And I'm sure that no matter what the opinion is right now, it shall change. And men of action like Boris Johnson shall certainly return to the fray.
Do you feel, Sviatoslav, that the response from other countries and other world leaders, has that been in any way as supportive as Boris Johnson? Do you feel that you're getting the support that you need generally?
Boris Johnson has been clearest even before the Britain has provided to Ukraine, has been instrumental in the first few days of the battle against Russian invasion, every single front line. The reality of Battle of Kiev, in which I participated as well, basically was that the arms, the in-love, were fundamental in repelling the Russian attacks on Kiev and stopping the Russians. The reality is that Boris Johnson is a man of action whose actions provided us with the fighting chance that we've put to good use in destroying the Russian troops around the capital and around the north and pushing them back in the east.
Are you confident that whoever replaces Boris Johnson will offer the same degree of support that is needed in Ukraine and by the Ukrainian people?
They have made statements on that question, and they have made clear statements to Ukraine. But the reality is that Boris has proven that he doesn't only doesn't talk the talk, he walks the walk. And whatever contenders he has need still to rise to that challenge.
Well, Sviatoslav, thank you ever so much for joining me tonight on Friday Night Feast. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
So, do you have any responses to that? What do you think? I mean, it's very interesting, isn't it? The perspective that we have of Boris here, a lot of people here have of Boris, it's just simply not mirrored in the war zone.
No, he's massively supportive. You hear someone singing drunkenly in the background. Boris Johnson.
Was that what you heard?
Can you hear the person singing in the background?
Well, I didn't know he was singing that.
I'd imagine.
I might catch on,
but you know what? He's a hero out there, and fair enough. Just because I criticise Boris Johnson, I can't recognise that there aren't things that he has done and achievements done. I think this is probably his greatest achievement, was backing it. I will say that UK has been backing Ukraine from before Boris Johnson.
But he did put himself out there.
Absolutely put himself out there, and he's done he did a great job in terms of rallying the rest of the world towards the Ukrainian cause.
I do have to move on. I'm sorry. Here's a question for you, though. What does Boris Johnson's resignation mean for Brexit? So ahead of last month's confidence vote, Jacob Rees-Mogg said that the Prime Minister's critics wanted him out because they're hostile to Brexit. Rees-Mogg made these comments after fellow Tory MP Tobias Ellwood had said that the UK should rejoin the single market to ease the cost of living crisis. Sir Keir Starmer said earlier this week that any future Labour government wouldn't join the single market or a customs union, so Brexit will never be overturned. Will it? To debate this, I'm joined now by Anna Bird. She's the CEO of European Movement UK, who have previously set up a crowdfunder with the hope of reversing Brexit, and Neil Hamilton, who's the leader of UKIP and is a former Conservative MP. Thank you both ever so much for joining me tonight. I want to come to you first, Anna, if you don't mind. So you've set up the crowdfunder. What is it that you hope or that you feel that you could achieve once you've raised sufficient funds?
Well, our campaign is all about reversing the calamities of Brexit. The reality is that Boris Johnson's legacy is a Brexit that is extremely damaging. We know that over the next few years, families are going to be facing a hit to their pocket of £1,000 a year because of Brexit. That economic reality is not told in Boris Johnson's story, but it is the reality of a hard Brexit, a Brexit that has been set up on lies and deceit. So what we want to do is to tell a new story. I think think to open negotiations, to start conversations about what a much more positive relationship with the European Union could look like, we need to do that because we're facing a serious cost of living crisis. We can't afford to be risking a trade war. We can't afford to not be trading with our nearest neighbours.
Let me just be clear, Anna, though. Are you lobbying for another referendum about rejoining the EU, or are you saying that Parliament should just arbitrarily take us back in?
No, that's not what we're arguing for at all. Right now, we're facing a cost of living crisis. We need to have conversations about how we could open up a new thinking about the Brexit we have to improve on the deal that we've got. We're not in a position to hold a new referendum. There are millions of people up and down the country who think like me that we would be better off in the European Union, but that's not the conversation we're having right now. The conversation we're having right now is how can we, out of the European Union, have a better relationship, a trading relationship, better relationship across kind of science, cultural ties, etc., that can improve things for people up and down the country who are really feeling the squeeze right now.
Neil Hamilton, is it the case that Brexit has been this major disaster and that we must get back in to the EU as soon as possible to remedy that?
Well, I'm afraid what we've just listened to is another case of Brexit derangement syndrome. It's completely different from the reality. The cost of living crisis is a consequence of having closed down the country for 2 years during COVID and the monetary incontinence of the Bank of England, which has produced 11% inflation. It's nothing whatever to do with Brexit. But one of the great disappointments of Boris Johnson is that having got us over the line in strict legal form on Brexit, he's done absolutely nothing to take advantage of the freedoms which that has given us. We've done nothing, not even get rid of the 5% VAT on fuel, which was mandated by the EU, which we could easily have done, which would have been a considerable help to many people who are currently struggling to pay their fuel bills. We've done virtually nothing to disentangle us from the massive EU regulation, not least in areas of financial services, which aren't covered, of course, by our agreements with the EU anyway. There's no prospect whatsoever of doing any deals with the EU because for them, Brexit is something which has got to be punished because the British people have had the temerity to want to govern themselves and to elect the people who take the decisions upon which our laws are made. So what we need to do from now with the new leader of the Tory party in prospect is to reinvigorate Brexit by taking advantage of those freedoms to cut the cost of government, cut the costs of regulation to business, to open up new markets in other parts of the world, and as far as Northern Ireland is concerned, to tell the EU to go to hell if they're not prepared to be sensible and to get rid of the border down the middle of the Irish Sea. That's got to be a problem for the Irish Republic more than for Britain if there's going to be any friction on that border. So it's 2.5 years of lost opportunity under Boris Johnson, sadly, where Brexit and the European Union is concerned.
OK, I'm going to bring Anna in at this point. So, Anna, do you feel, though, given what everything that has just been said, do you think there really is an appetite in the country to try and unpick Brexit and take the clock back? Or do you think this is just your view and the view of the people that you associate with?
Well, I think what Neil and I can probably agree on is that Brexit isn't done. There are still things that we need to do. Now, we might have different views of what needs to change, but there needs to be a bigger vision for our place in the world, how we're going to work with the European Union, how we're going to get the best deal possible. That conversation has not been happening under Boris Johnson. It has been leadership by sloganeering. It has been negotiation by bully boy tactics. It has been not sitting around the table with the European Union to talk about what to do about Northern Ireland. Those things will change. I'm absolutely positive under a new Conservative leader. I'm sure that they will want to take a new path. And I think we absolutely have to do that. Brexit is not done. There are things still to do. And we would like, when those conversations inevitably change, to see a healing process. There are lots of people up and down the country who have not been represented. There are lots of questions still unanswered. And I think we do need to move away from the toxic debate, the toxic culture that we have seen, which I think is the legacy of Boris Johnson's Brexit.
So a lot of the arguments that you make do relate, and you've expressed them very, very persuasively, that you're talking about really money. We're talking about that Britain is worse off as a result of Brexit. But do you take on board the principal reason why people voted to leave the EU, which is, of course, a matter of sovereignty, the principle that laws that govern the country should be made in this country. Do you think that that's something that you acknowledge and respect?
Yeah, sure. And I think we need to understand why people voted for Brexit and why people voted against it. And I think we need to start to represent everyone up and down the country and start to work out how we can live with a better form of Brexit. But I think what's absolutely critical is to acknowledge that nobody voted for a Brexit that would make them £1,000 worse off a year. There is absolutely no one in the country who would put their hands up and say, absolutely, that was what I thought I was voting for. And so we do need to look again at that aspect of Brexit.
Well, that's precisely what Neil Hamilton there is contesting, isn't it? Neil, you're saying that that's not the reason. But can I ask you, Neil, regarding Boris in particular? Lord Heseltine has now said that without Boris, you don't have Brexit. Is it really the case that this was wrapped up in this one individual?
No, of course it's completely wrong. As I said, Boris has been a massive disappointment on Brexit. All he's done is to achieve the legal form of Brexit. We've done nothing to have the economic and other substance of Brexit, and not least on immigration, which people had a right to expect as a result of Boris becoming Prime Minister. The figure of £1,000 a year worse off is purely invented figure, so you can just ignore that. Nobody can actually disentangle anything over the last couple of years because of the dislocation caused by COVID. Trade with the European Union has actually increased in the last 2 years, not decreased. The European Union had £100 billion a year trade surplus with us before 2019. There's no evidence that has in any way diminished. So as far as the EU is concerned, Brexit has not had any adverse effects, and it certainly had no adverse effects on Britain. If we had taken advantage of the freedoms which being out of the EU has given us, then we could have made it a much better Brexit than we've had. And that's what I hope a new leader of the Conservative Party will do. Having said that, a lot of the candidates are Remainers, and they don't have the right instincts to do what I would like to see happening. So,
well, on that, Neil, would you mind telling us
better from Boris?
Who would you like to see as leader, as Tory leader?
Well, it would have to be somebody like Suella Braverman or Liz Truss or Penny Mordaunt, people who were Brexiteers and do have the right sort of instinct on how to react to events. But somebody like Tom Tugendhat, who was a massive Euro crank, or Rishi Sunak or Sajid Javid, they're both Remainers, and actually they're part of the problem. They're globalist bankers who are part of the blob. So if the Tories opt for them, then they're going to lose the next election, in my opinion, because they won't have anything to offer which is positive.
And we are running out of time, but I do want to put the same question to Anna. From your perspective and your views on Brexit, who would you like to be leader of the Tory party?
So I wouldn't be drawn on a name, and obviously we need to see who's going to put themselves forward. But I see some of what Neil says as quite crude views of kind of those politicians' views on Brexit. Are they Remain, or were they, are they Leave? Actually, I think we need to pose a different set of questions to the candidates now. What are you going to do on Northern Ireland? How are you going to tackle the cost of living crisis? How are you going to take your vision for our relationship with Ukraine and the rest of the world and influence others, the European Union and beyond? And take out, where is our place in the world? Those questions, I think, are critical, and I think the candidates should be judged on those and those alone.
Well, Anna Bird and Neil Hamilton, thank you both ever so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
After the break, it'll be time for Challenge Christys, but this is no ordinary Challenge Christys. You're going to see me, Josh and Sajila go head-to-head in an epic sporting battle. See you in 2 minutes.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
On Mark Dolan tonight, full reaction to the fallout from Boris Johnson's resignation. In The Big Question, what is his legacy? We'll debate that with his biographer, Tom Bauer. Reacting to the big stories of the day are my panel, including Boris Johnson supporting commentator Sophie Corcoran and the Prime Minister's former top aide, Kulveer Ranger. My Mark Meets guest is boxing legend Duke McKenzie. And in my big opinion monologue, my verdict on Boris Johnson's 3 years at the helm. See you at 9.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Feast. Who's going to be the next Tory leader? Ooh, the field is wide open. Though, of course, only a handful of MPs have so far stated publicly that they're interested in replacing Boris Johnson. Here on the Friday Night Feast, we decided to get in on the inside track on who's going to get the top job in British politics. So, unfortunately, our budget couldn't stretch to Mystic Meg. She's very expensive. But now we've got the next best thing. I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by Mystic Veg. Jemima Packington, you've got a very unusual way of telling the future. So how do you predict the future? Tell us about it.
So I use a round of asparagus, and then I would cast it onto a flat surface. Some people say chuck or throw. I prefer cast. And then the patterns it makes, I'm able to interpret and make predictions.
So this is like old school soothsayers who used to pull the entrails out of an otter and read the shapes they're in.
Not quite entrails, but a bit like spillikins or runes.
Yes, like casting runes. And do you just is it just asparagus does this work for? Can you use an onion, shallots, you know, a cucumber? Does it have to be an asparagus?
We have tried, yes. We have tried. And for instance, broccoli and cauliflower, they go everywhere. Squash literally bursts. But this stuff, being a good earthy vegetable, growing through that is really robust and it serves the purpose.
So it's not really about the spiritual qualities of the various vegetables. It's about the practicality of what happens when you smash it on a table.
Well, I don't smash, I cast.
I apologise, that was an insulting phrase to use. You cast it, absolutely. The asparagus you're using today, this asparagus have you already done your experiment? Do you know who the next Tory leader is going to be, or are you going to perform it for us now?
No, I've already done this. This is just to demonstrate how wonderful Vale of Evesham asparagus is.
OK, wonderful. Can anyone do this, or do you need the gift? I assume you've got the gift.
I believe so. I've never come across anybody else who's used asparagus. Many have tried, but they've not really succeeded.
I'm sure. Does it work with buttered asparagus, or does it have to be just fresh from the ground?
Oh, fresh, because once you've actually cast and done your reading, then you wash it off and you can cook it and, you know, have it for supper or lunch.
I mean, that's brilliant, because you can predict the future and also have a lovely meal. No, it's a great system.
Absolutely.
So, Mystic Veg, who is going to be the next Tory leader, according to your magical asparagus?
The main name that it came up with is Ben Wallace.
Ben Wallace? And did it actually
Yes, but
spell
there's
out the name Ben Wallace in the fragments of asparagus?
It gave me the initials, but there was a second coming up, dark horse, and everybody's laughing, but that's Nadine Dorries.
Really? This is fascinating to me. You might want to consider using alphabetic spaghetti or something. You'd probably get longer words, wouldn't you?
Well, no, I'm content with this. It works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
No, absolutely. Well, Mystic Veg, thank you ever so much for joining me tonight. So there we have it. So the next leader of the Tory party is going to be Ben Wallace or possibly Nadine Dorries. The asparagus wasn't clear. And this is the problem with vegetables. They're never really certain about anything, are they? Anyway, it's time now for Challenge Christys, or as we're calling it this week, Challenge Comedians. But before we get to that, regular viewers and listeners will know that here at GB News, we're counting down the days until Patrick does the ultimate challenge. Yes, he's going to be dancing with the Dream Boys, who are a group of male strippers. Now, he's doing it to raise money for charity, but I saw him do something very similar at the GB News Christmas party, so I know this is something he will very much be looking forward to. All the money will go to the mental health charity Mind. I'm delighted to say that right now the total stands at £21,794. So thank you so much for everyone who has donated. There's a real mental health crisis in the UK at the moment, and Mind are doing some really great work that does make a huge difference. Now, I know that money is tight for people at the moment, but if you can help, then please do. Just go to justgiving.com/fundraising/challenge Christys, and you can make your donation there. Right, let's get to this week's challenge. Now, over the past few months, Patrick has tackled all sorts of daring challenges. Among other things, he's landed a plane, he's taken on a professional boxer, and he also injured himself while lawnmower racing. When our production team set up this evening's challenge, they did it in the knowledge that I'm not really cut out for that kind of thing, right? So the occasional game of Scrabble is about as adventurous as I get. So they decided to arrange something a bit more genteel. And just for good measure, they invited Josh and Sajila along. And here's what happened. So I've been sent here to Sidcup. I don't know where that is, but we're here anyway. And this is what's here, a big dinosaur. So I don't know what this is about. I don't know if it's a Jurassic Park thing, if it's a sciencey thing, if I have to clone my own velociraptor or something like that. I don't know. But we're going to find out. Hey, it's golf. We're doing golf. I'm so good at golf. Who's the kid? Is the caddy?
No, this is Will, Andrew. He's the pro that's going to be teaching us.
He's the pro?
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. Let's see how good you really are when you face up against one of the pros.
Well, I'm a beast at this. Let's do this.
A few special mini golf balls as well. So this one here, pretty dead. That one, bang.
I mean, this doesn't look difficult. This is pretty basic.
Here to there.
Like, you should at least give us something that's going to push us.
Let's see how good you are.
All right, no problem. There's something wrong with the ball. It's not heavy enough, so when it travels over the hole, the gravity can't. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, that counted. That counted.
I didn't see it.
Mark her down, please.
What do you think, Will?
That counted. Yeah?
Oh. No, what was...
All three of you have got a lot of work to do before.
You mean all two? All two?
No, you as well, yeah.
Oh, you said I was the best.
No, let me show you guys how it's done.
Oh, bravo!
I could do that.
Okay.
Oh! Well done, Doyle!
Come on!
Howie, just remember your kids are watching. Don't shame them. Yes! Doyle.
I'll make it up on the next hole. It's fine.
You can do it! You're the only girl on the team!
You're right.
Okay, so so who was the best in that one?
Oh, none of you, really.
You ready?
Woo! Oh my God! Wow, Andrew, that was quite impressive.
Bad, was it?
Yeah.
Cut from your face. Got to look at the hole, look at the ball.
Patience.
Whack it.
Okay, that's one.
Okay, we'll do that.
What's the situation with the opposite sex in this game? Like, there are a lot of women fans?
Yeah.
What I'm really asking is, does this get you laid?
That's for me to know and you to find out.
Oh, okay.
So far, most potential I've seen is from Josh.
You've got to be kidding.
Plenty of time for it to go
But
wrong.
it's all about results, right, Will?
Yeah.
Can I borrow your stick for this?
Do you think you're that good?
No, I suspect part of your success is you're using a more expensive stick.
Aren't you an atheist?
No.
Oh.
You used the pro equipment and you got even worse, so it's not looking good for you.
It's all about getting the ball into the hole. In a second, I'll show you one more time. Let me just show you again. You have to get the ball in the least amount of, yeah, exactly, just like that.
You're already losing, so I think you need a bit of a helping hand. So let's make the hole a little bit bigger for you.
I'm not a charity, you don't need to patronise me.
All right, I'll put it back in then.
No, leave it, it's all right. Oh.
Yeah, Andrew. Yes. Well, I think you are the best coach. Thank you.
Oh my God. Easy as that. Okay, here we go.
Ooh, yeah, no, he's got it. He's got it. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. He's got it.
Oh, it's going in.
He's got it. He's got it.
Oh, it's in.
That's what I've been trying to do all along, and then something's been going wrong.
Okay, final scores. So, last place, it's really disappointing.
Why are you looking at me?
I thought you had potential, Josh, but you ended up with 55. Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
What a loser!
What
a loser!
Yes, I beat you. That's it. Yes, am I?
Doesn't make any sense.
One shot ahead, 54, thanks to a bit of coaching. Shajila.
Woo!
I've got a 32, and then one ahead of me. Andrew.
What?
See, I told you, I'm the beast. I am the beast.
I don't believe.
Numbers don't lie. It's on the thing, so that's it. That's it. There's no argument.
The scorecard says.
That's it.
Are you sure, Will?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well. So that's the Crazy Golf Challenge completed. I emerged as the victor. What can I say? It's genetic. I just have the ability to turn my hand to anything. Thanks, Will. You've been really helpful.
Well.
Thank you. If you're listening on GB News Radio, you can watch that challenge right now on our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and also on Twitter. And I'm sure you'll be impressed. I was a worthy winner. I just have an innate talent for sports generally, of all kinds, be they athletic or the more genteel form of sport. And I don't know what to say. I
don't get that.
Well, you know, you're upset because you didn't win.
No. I saw that shot, the money. See, I saw you hand something to him and I just assumed it was your telephone number. But I didn't realise, they look like money. That is money.
No.
Oh my.
No.
Right, so what happened there is he lent me some money.
You paid him, Doyle.
No. He lent me some money before the challenge because I needed to buy a hat. And then I gave him the money for the hat at the end. So that's what you said.
That's quite a lot of money as well.
It's a big hat.
Because you were winning.
Yeah. I just assumed that. I mean, look at these muscles.
Look, we're
crazy.
I tell you what, we're going to bring in Will Donnelly now. He's obviously he was our coach there. Will, are you there?
Hello. Good evening.
I can't believe my panellists are sceptical that I won that fair and square. Can you just reiterate that I did in fact win that?
Will, how do you afford those headphones, Will? Yeah? Who paid for those headphones?
The scorecard was there. We had the scorecard. All the scores were added up properly.
Yeah, it's exactly. Job done. Well, thanks for your help there, Will. Just tell us a bit about yourself, though. What did you started out, obviously, as a player, but you're now a coach. Who is it you coach?
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, I was out coaching the Great Britain national mini-golf team in Finland at the World Championships. I still play as well, but maybe I'm not quite good enough to make the national team anymore, so that's why I'm the coach instead.
I know you seem pretty good to me. You were getting quite a few hole-in-ones there, and I didn't get any hole-in-ones, so I was impressed by that. But how did you start out on this, though? Like, was this just something you were always innately good at? Or, how old were you when you began this? Because you seem quite young still.
Actually, there was a course about 10, 15 minutes from my house that I first went to, and then I found out from there that there were like local competitions, such as at that place, and also where we met in Sig Cup as well. And then over time, I played more events, more across the country, and then I've gone abroad quite a few times as well to represent Great Britain.
And can you do big golf, or does it have to be mini golf?
Some of our players have come from sort of a golfing background because this mini golf is a putting-based sport. So obviously, if you've got a good putting stroke at golf, you should stand a fairly good chance. But maybe one day I'll give a full round of golf a go and see how I do.
Well, Will Donnelly, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much.
He was a good coach.
He was a good coach, wasn't he?
I was thinking, for little people, is mini golf just normal golf?
They just call it golf.
Call it golf.
Yeah. Anyway, Patrick is back, of course, next week, and I know he can't wait to find out about his next challenge, and that's where you come in. We want you to tell us what you want to see Patrick do. Keep it clean. And more than that, we want you to set it up for him. So if you've got any weird and wonderful ideas for what Patrick could do, just get in touch. Just email patrick@gbnews.uk, and who knows, you might just be lucky enough to meet the man himself. He's very charming in person, even though he doesn't come across that way on TV. Earlier in the show, I spoke about Brexit and how so many of the political class are opposed to leaving the UK leaving the European Union. We've got some responses. Michael says, if the establishment tries to reverse Brexit, then millions will take to the streets and make the poll tax look like a picnic. Here's one from Tracy. Tracy says, why do anti-Brexit people always assume that everyone that voted for Brexit are thick and stupid and didn't know what we were voting for? How arrogant. Tracy, I agree with you. I don't assume that.
About us.
She's not talking about me. I didn't say that.
She's talking about my
panel. We didn't say that.
You implied it with your voice.
I am very arrogant, but that's nothing to do with this particular issue.
Let's move on to John. John says, I voted Remain, but I'm now so glad that the Brexit vote won. There are many, many like me. Lots of us who voted Remain never knew the full consequences either. Very, very interesting. I've spoken to a number of people like that who think that the EU's behaviour in recent years has not been good.
I thought I saw you typing a little text. Are you John?
Don't
secretly?
you try and undermine me live on TV.
Remember the money so he changed that.
Unbelievable, right? It's time for a break now. I've got to put a stop to this because my panellists are out of control. But I will be back in a few minutes with the cyclists who are cycling 1,000 miles across the UK in the nude. Find out how a former England international footballer got on in the dad's race at his kids' sports day, and we will try to rehome a rescue dog in Dog of the Week. Don't go away.
Hello again, I'm Stephen with your latest forecast brought to you by the Met Office. And this weekend ahead looks pretty good for many places. Lots of fine, dry, warm, sunny weather to be had. Light winds emphasising that warm feel as well. One or two exceptions though. The far north of Scotland, we'll see some showers to take us through into Saturday morning, and we'll see this area of cloud just pushing its way further south into parts of Wales and the Midlands. The odd spot of drizzle on it, but a lot of places will be dry, and a lot of places seeing clear skies to take us into Saturday morning. Temperatures not falling too far, 12 to 15 degrees to take us into first thing Saturday. So the weekend will be dominated by this area of high pressure, which will be slowly working its way in from the Atlantic. And by Sunday, we'll be sat pretty much slap bang over the UK. These weather fronts to the far north will bring some rain at times to the far north of Scotland, but for many places, it is a dry picture. So Saturday starting off with some cloud in places, but I think across parts of Wales and England, this will tend to readily burn off, which means that for the bulk of England, Wales, southern and central Scotland, the east of Northern Ireland, lots of sunshine on Saturday afternoon, with a cloud coming into the far northwest. Here a bit cooler, but further south in that sunshine, temperatures widely into the low 20s, peaking around 27 in southern England. Now the cloud will continue to invade across western and northern Scotland through Saturday evening, Some heavier rain for a time across the far north of Scotland, particularly Orkney and Shetland. Elsewhere, though, it is a dry picture, again with lengthy clear periods for good parts of England and Wales. Some clear spells at Northern Ireland and the rest of Scotland too. But whether it's cloudy or it's clear, it's going to be quite a warm night with temperatures no lower than the low to mid-teens. So the air mass is starting to warm up. A few uncomfortable nights ahead, perhaps, for some of us. And then Sunday, we do it all over again. So a wet start across the far north of Scotland, particularly Orkney and Shetland, but that range will tend to clear away. And then I think more widely we'll see some sunshine through Sunday. So where we've had quite a bit of cloud across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland, well, more sunshine here, temperatures widely a little bit higher than on Saturday. And that sets the scene for a warming trend with plenty of sunshine into next week. For some of us, temperatures into the low 30s.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Feast with me, Andrew Doyle. There's lots on the way between now and 9 o'clock. We'll celebrate a landmark day for one of Britain's most popular foods. There's the story of the couple who were convicted after having sex in a communal garden. And can we finally rehome a rescue dog? We've got our fingers crossed for that one. That's in our Dog of the Week section. But first, it's the news headlines brought to you by Ray Addison.
Thanks. Here's the latest from the GB newsroom. Former Conservative Party chairman Oliver Dowden has announced that he's backing Rishi Sunak's leadership bid. Earlier, the former Chancellor launched his campaign on social media, saying he wanted to restore trust, rebuild the economy and reunite the country. Prominent Tory backbencher Tom Tugendhat has also declared that he's going to run. New Education Secretary James Cleverly's told GB News there'll be plenty of decent candidates.
Personal circumstances mean that I won't be putting myself forward, but I'm also confident that we have a pool of talent which will enable us to choose someone with fantastic experience, whoever that might be.
So Keir Starmer has been cleared by police of breaking lockdown rules last year. The Labour leader and his deputy, Angela Rayner, had promised to resign if they were fined. Video showed him drinking beer and eating curry with colleagues during a visit to Durham, but police say they obeyed the law. Speaking at a press conference, Sir Keir said truth and integrity matter.
People said to me I was taking a risk by saying I would step down if I was fined. But it was never about that. For me, it was a matter of principle. It shouldn't be controversial to say that those who make the law can't break the law. But we have to set the bar far higher than that.
Japanese police say the gunman who assassinated Shinzo Abe believed the ex-leader was part of a group he has a grudge against. The former Prime Minister was shot from behind while giving a speech at a political event today. He later died in hospital. Investigators say the 41-year-old suspect killed Abe using a homemade gun. So Mark Rowley is the new Commissioner of the Met Police. He replaces Dame Cressida Dick, who announced that she was leaving the role back in February. Sir Mark is a former counter-terrorism officer who left the force 4 years ago. Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, says he's the best person for the job.
A series of appalling scandals have not only exposed deep cultural problems within the Met, but have contributed to a crisis of confidence in London's police service. Sir Mark has made clear to me that he's determined to be a reforming commissioner.
And Cameron Norrie has lost his semi-final match against Novak Djokovic at Wimbledon. The 26-year-old British #1 was defeated by 3-1 on centre court. He's only the fourth British man to ever reach the last four at the All England club. On TV, online and on DAB Plus radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to Andrew and the Friday Night Feast.
A couple of weeks ago, we interviewed Neil Cox, who's one of 4 people who are cycling the length of the UK naked. Neil and his friend are going from Land's End to John O'Groats, while 2 others are heading in the opposite direction. Sadie Tan and Colin Unsworth set off last month, and they join me now. Thanks very much for joining me tonight.
Oh! Hey!
I see you're not naked at the moment. I appreciate that for live TV. So I wouldn't expect... Now, I wouldn't expect a journey like yours to go without incident, but you had a rather unpleasant experience this week, didn't you? What happened?
Yeah, we did. In my mind, I had this idyllic view of us going like all the way from John O'Groats to Land's End with nothing but like smiles and waves and sort of laughter off the public and all that sort of stuff, which we get a lot of. But overwhelmingly, people are positive and give us a thumbs up. If anybody's offended by it, then they might ring the police, and then we'd have a chat with the police. And when that's happened, it's all been sort of smiles and laughs, and we've dealt with that. But what I didn't expect was violence like this. And it was, it's quite shaking us, really. You're very vulnerable when you're on a bike, and you're very vulnerable when you're on a bike naked. So, for someone to drive...
What exactly happened there? Can you explain what exactly happened to you there? What did people do?
So we chose a section of the ride to do a naked section, basically, and we're on our Facebook. Sadie was recording Facebook Live when it happened, and the vehicle has passed us in the opposite direction. I was unaware of it at the time, but you can see it on the video. It's passed us in the opposite direction. They've turned around and come chasing after us, and taken 2 swerves at us. The first swerve I managed to avoid because I've been on a bike all my life, so I'm quite skillful on a bike. And the second swerve, he knocked us off and knocked us onto the floor.
So incredibly dangerous and reckless of them. It does strange to think that you would generate anger. I mean, you're raising money for charity, aren't you? Can you tell us a bit about the charity that you're raising money for and why you're doing it?
Yeah, we're raising money for Rewilding Britain and Mind. So during the pandemic, everybody's locked at home and everybody's out on local walks and disconnected from the usual life. And I think there was a lot of discussion around connecting with nature, people going out on little local walks and realising the nature that was on their doorsteps and having that nature connection. Coming out of the pandemic, there's a lot of talk about mental health, and I think nature connections are a big part of that. So we kind of thought, well, let's do something big and wild and raise some money for some good charities. So off we went, and the vast majority of people we pass laugh, wave, video us to put on Facebook or whatever they do, and when they shout what you're doing and we say it's for charity, they give us a thumbs up. You know, I think there's quite a comedy element to seeing two people naked on a tandem.
Definitely.
And so, can you clarify for me, Sadie, can I come to you on this one? Most people think of, being naked in public, of being against the law, but is it the case that it's against the law, or is this perfectly legal, what you're doing?
No, it's not illegal to be naked in public. It's only illegal if there's behaviour, so there's like sexual or lewd behaviour, but just simply going about your business naked is totally legal. Yeah.
And is this something you've always done, or is this something you're specifically doing for this charity?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
Bit of both.
Yeah, I'm comfortable naked. Yeah.
Yeah, comfortable naked, but we've never been quite so much in the public naked before.
No.
But is it comfortable on a bike being naked? I mean, isn't the saddle a bit rough?
Bizarrely, before we did this, I looked into it to try and find out how to combat chafing, and the sport that incurs the worst chafing apparently is cross-Atlantic kayaking, and the way that people deal with that is to sit bare-bottomed on sheepskin. So I got hold of, I sent a message out to a few sheepskin tanneries, and one in Somerset called Owen Barry Tannery has very kindly made us some saddle covers out of merino wool sheepskin, and I have to say, because I have cycled in the past, that it is more comfortable and there's less chafing than with any cycle shorts I've ever cycled with. So it's no problem with that at all.
And how far are you along your journey at the moment? When do you expect to finish this ride?
We are in Newcastle at the moment. We've been cycling for a week. We're in Newcastle at the moment, and we have, we're expecting the whole journey to take us 22 days. Neil and Hannah are doing it in a much shorter timescale. They're doing a much bigger mileage each day. But our target was 50 miles a day, which so far we're stuck to. So we arrived in Newcastle yesterday, and we're on day 7.
Yeah, I think we've done 8 days.
8 days cycling.
50 miles a day.
Yeah, and we're just having a 3-night break at a naturist campsite, which is something I've never done before. But it's nice and sunny, and we're enjoying our little break and resting our legs.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so, could you tell anyone watching where they can find out more about you or donate to your cause?
Absolutely, yeah. So we've got a website, freewilders.co.uk. So we've called ourselves the Free Wilders. So freewilders.co.uk, or I'm kind of using our Facebook page as like a daily blog. So Free Wilders on Facebook, and there's information there as to how to give, and it's a Just Giving page, justgiving.com. /team/Free Wilders, and that's how you can donate to the charities.
Well, Sadie and Colin, thank you so much for joining me today on Friday Night Feast.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, you probably didn't know that today is World Kebab Day. Where have you been? So, we are going to celebrate today by sampling some local cuisine and giving kebab making a go ourselves. And, right on cue, I believe we have someone entering the studio who knows exactly what they're talking about regarding kebabs. I know my panellists are big fans of kebabs.
This is the dream.
Oh, my gosh.
Look at it.
What? This is why we're here.
So this is the co-owner of Damascus Pride Kebab Restaurant, Mohammed Kunbus. Hello, Mohammed. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
This looks gorgeous.
Very good.
Wow.
So can you just tell us, before we get cracking, you've just opened your kebab shop, right?
Yeah,
your new kebab
2
shop.
weeks.
2 weeks ago. And that's in Edgware Road, is that right? Yeah. And you've brought some incredible-looking food.
Wow. It's shawarma, but it's like different taste as any other shawarma.
Shawarma as we don't know it.
Wow. You don't know it?
I love shawarma.
Someone told me that you make shawarma in the Syrian style.
Yeah,
is that correct? Why is that different to or better than other forms of?
The way we do it is different.
Okay.
And the way is like we serve it to the customers different as well, as you can see.
Okay, and this is the Damascus Bride Kebab restaurant, is that right? Damascus in Edgware Road. Okay.
Congratulations.
Okay, well, I know, Josh, you're starving, aren't you?
I'm absolutely famished.
So, do you want to crack on and try something?
Please, I'll take all of it.
Yeah?
Straight away. What do we do? You just piling it on?
By the way, you have one lamb, one shawarma.
Can I ask one question?
No, can we just eat?
No, I just want to know, why is it called the Bride Damascus? What?
Damascus Bride.
You know what's mean bride, yeah?
No brides.
Bride.
Are there brides, many brides that come?
No, but it's make something in like Syrian.
Oh, okay, okay.
Is this falafel?
In our language.
Right, well, give me something to try, Josh, because, I mean...
Okay, I'll give you... Do you like... You're vegetarian,
I'm a vegetarian, so my options are limited.
Is this falafel here?
Yeah.
Okay, so give me falafel.
Tabbouleh.
Just give me a bit of the hummus, and then I'll try the falafel and the hummus.
Okay, cool.
And even the hummus, we do it in a different way.
What do you do with the hummus that's particularly special?
We bought more tahina and try it. Maybe you're gonna find it.
Okay, I will try. Although, if I'm trying the hummus, you guys are going to have to talk because my mouth is going to be full.
Oh, gosh,
so I'm going to give it a go.
And what's this red stuff? What's the red stuff here?
Is that chili?
Chili, yeah.
Oh,
chili?
nice.
Yeah.
Nice
Okay, I'm a bit of a wimp. And what's the other, this stuff here?
We call it tabbouleh.
Tabbouleh, okay, I'm going to go for some of that.
So, if Syrian kebab is...
Syrian shawarma, not kebab.
So Syrian shawarma, which is the lamb meat and then the chicken. So you still layer it, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you cut down, and you put special spices.
Yeah, like the thing we put with our Syrian is different.
As a professional, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you feel about double dipping? What do you think about...
We don't do double dipping.
Do you like someone taking a bit of bread, dipping it, and then going for another dip? How do you feel about the double dip? Does that make you angry?
No.
Or do you think it's okay culturally?
It's okay.
Okay,
You're very free and easy, Mohammed.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say that's very vulgar. I think people need to have better table manners, Josh.
Going with the flow. I'm just saying.
This is lamb, by the way.
That's good. I love lamb.
This looks so good.
I love lamb.
I think
and which ones? And what's this here? Is that
the chicken? That one chicken.
I'll go for some chicken.
Was there some halloumi for vegetarian?
Well, don't worry about that. So Mohammed, can I just ask you? You own the restaurant with your brother, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what made you decide to open this?
And we have other. It's called his name Abu Hussam. He's have experience for 30 years old as chef.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, so your chef is very, very established.
Yeah, very he has high experience.
Okay.
And he have a restaurant in Syria and in Turkey as well.
And kebabs, I believe, originated in Turkey, and so, we're very fond of Turkish cuisine over here. Mm-hmm. It seems to be a staple. People adore it, don't they? You're a big fan of.
I love it. And I love the spice sumac. You use sumac? Sumac? No?
How is that, Josh?
That is delicious.
Okay, what are you having there?
I'm having chicken. I'm basically having everything, but I'm doing this keto
diet.
So
to explain for everyone at home, Josh has been fasting for 48 hours.
Yes, this is the first thing I've eaten in 48 hours.
And now you're
48 hours.
Oh.
Yeah, 24 hours for wimps, 48 hours is hardcore.
I mean, it's pretty hardcore.
Today, some of them, they are fasting.
Oh, Muslims are?
Yeah.
Ramadan.
No, this is just because I was
tomorrow
fat.
we have Eid. If you know.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. It's this weekend, isn't it? All right, judging.
So that's all right, but you're allowed to... Yeah, but that means you're allowed to eat today.
We're allowed to eat today, right?
Oh,
yeah, it's very, very good.
Hot chili.
Oh my God! So I've got the lamb shawarma.
Yes.
Oh, it's
lamb, yeah.
Good. It's good.
Very good.
It's nice.
Very good. No, we like a little bit.
This is delicious, mate. I'm going to come down. So you're just near the studios, right?
Yes.
And
what time's it close?
I basically after a couple of days we're going to open a breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be from 7 to 12. Syrian breakfast is going to be.
Well, look, this is utterly delicious.
That's going to be lunchtime.
By the way, Mohammed, what
lunch thing?
What discounts are we talking about?
Yeah.
GBNews discount. What are we talking about?
10%.
Oh,
and also,
this is delicious.
Oh my God! So after headliners, our show finishes at 12.
Midnight. No, it'll be shut. You'll be shut, won't you?
You can stay awake for us.
So before we wrap up, Mohammed, so what is your best dish? What's your favourite dish?
Shawarma.
Yeah.
Shawarma.
That's your signature dish.
And,
okay.
Falafel, hummus as well. And tabbouleh, by the way.
Well, it all looks great.
Delicious, man.
Anyway, after the break, I will tell you the story that produced the newspaper headline, "His bum was going up and down." Yes, it's almost time to have a look round your parts. So we'll see you in 2 minutes for that. Don't go away.
Thanks, mate.
So good.
Yum.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Feast, and it is a feast. As Josh leaning into the camera shot with a plate full of kebab, or whatever. What are you eating?
I'm so happy so good to have food.
That's the only reason.
This is the best show ever.
It's the only reason you agreed to do the show is because we feed you.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
Genius.
Anyway, so welcome back to the show. So now it's time for Round Your Parts, where we dig deep to find some of the absolute gems of local news, right? So there is really only one place we can start this week. This is the, I mean, you're not going to get much better than this. This is a front cover in Dundee's Evening Telegraph. His bum was going up and down. I mean, that is a headline designed to draw you in.
Sounds like the bicycle person.
It does, rather. But it's not. This is Clive Weatherhog and Kirsty Jones, who were caught having sex in a communal garden in Forfar. Weatherhog claimed he had just undone his trousers because he had a stomach ache, but a witness told the court that Jones's legs were in the air and Weatherhog's bum was going up and down, and they'll both be sentenced next month. So we can talk about this because, you know, they have been found guilty, so it's not the case that we are prejudicing.
I wish I could say this is putting me off this food. This talk of...
I mean, you know, I would have believed that, you know, undoing his trousers, and maybe his bum was going up and down because he was, you know,
Or maybe there was like a fly he wanted to get off himself. Like, he put his trousers down, and then it was like, oh, no, there's a thing, you know.
Why are people looking into their garden anyway? You know, I mean... Yeah. Oh, it did say it was a communal garden.
Communal, well, then it's meant for everybody, so they're just making use of it, garden. It's for everybody. Why can't they use it?
Why would anybody want to have relations outside anyway?
Al fresco.
Al fresco.
Doesn't make any sense. It's considered very exotic and
You've been married too long. Al fresco.
No. It's barely...
Well, I mean, it does feel like a bit of a victimless crime, though, doesn't it? Unless they're, you know, it doesn't feel...
You didn't see that bum. That could have been all wrinkly. It could have been not shaved.
Trauma. Triggering.
No, you wax.
Yes.
Yeah. OK, next, we head to Derbyshire now, and this is the story of the blasphemous cheese sandwich. So a cafe in the Peak District has been vandalised after it started selling a butty called Jesus Christ. Many people have backed the Bridge Bakehouse. One local said they're a Christian, and the most offensive thing is that a cheese sandwich costs £4. I mean, that seems quite cheap to me, to be honest. The cafe's menu also includes items such as Don't Go Bacon My Heart, Jean-Claude Van Ham, and Get Your Goat You've Pulled. I mean, the thing that's offensive about this is the puns.
Yeah, it's bad comedy. But what's Get Your Goat You Pulled? Like, well, like goat in it?
it's pulled goat. Like, you get pulled pork.
Oh.
And so the pun is not get your coat you've pulled, get your goat you've pulled, because you've pulled the goat.
You shouldn't really have to explain jokes, though, unfortunately.
No, but you know, I mean, so that's what bothers me about that, Sajid. I mean, do you think it's the puns?
It's the puns that are terrible. I think we'll allow everything else. But
what about the blasphemy? What about the blasphemy?
It's not blasphemous.
Don't they also get a visage of Jesus burnt into the cheese?
I mean, I don't think they do.
Oh, well, I'm just saying maybe they want to consider it.
No, that would make it worse. That would be a
Yeah, lean into it.
Lean into the blasphemy.
Yeah, come here, get your famous blasphemous Jesus sandwich.
Jesus, I mean,
If it makes people happy...
Jesus...
Does it matter?
It does sound disrespectful, I would say. And if you're...
if it's a good sandwich.
I think if you're mocking deities through the medium of snacks...
What other deities can we have? Moses...
It's not mocking, it's just saying it's a Jesus sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, how would you feel about a Moses baguette?
I'd be fine. Moses mackerel, something like that.
Well, we've got Mohammed kebab, so why can't we have...
That's not a Mohammed kebab, though. That's a kebab made by Mohammed.
That was Mohammed's kebab.
His name was Mohammed, yeah.
I just think maybe avoid really. What if you've got a sandwich company? Why would you want to offend potential customers? I mean, I don't understand that.
Well, I think that maybe it's not a religious area or something. Maybe
maybe they're atheists.
Maybe they just assume that most people have a sense of humour.
Well, I mean, the thing about what I do know about the Bible, I mean, I've studied a lot of it, is that there's not many jokes in there. So I don't think that Jesus
Come on,
and
the whole
disciples...
water into wine.
It's not a joke, Josh.
No, he's having a laugh, mate. It's all like a magic trick.
Unbelievable! You're compounding the blasphemy by repeating blasphemy here. I will not tolerate it.
I've got headache from eating food too quickly.
It's not all about religion, because, Jean-Claude Van Damme, that's
Some people
I find that offensive. A ham sandwich.
As a martial arts fan yourself.
As a martial art Jew, let me just say that is very, very upsetting.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. I think that's outrageous. Anyway, I think we've talked about that for more than enough time. Let's go to Redcar in North Yorkshire, where a woman bought some eggs from a supermarket and they ended up hatching into ducklings. This is amazing. So Deza, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Deza Empson, put the eggs in an incubator that she had previously used to breed budgies. Why would she do that? She plans to keep one of the ducklings, which she's called Daisy, but the other two will go to live with her cousin. What do you make of this?
I think those other two are toast.
But wait, this doesn't make any sense, because if she put the eggs into the incubator with the view to hatching them, but she bought these eggs from a supermarket, which means they will be unfertilised eggs.
I guess they're not. Maybe when we're eating them, they're actually alive.
No, they're not. That's the whole point. They're unfertilised.
Do you think she fertilised them? Maybe she fertilised them.
Well, I don't know how that she would do that logistically.
Or it's a cost of living, and she really wants crispy duck. And this is the only way that she can kind of create her own crispy duck. It's a long-term project.
Well, I think that more shops should do this, where you can go and buy
fertilised eggs.
Fertilised eggs and chicken, and then have your own chicken, and then it's like a long-term thing, and then have it for dinner.
This is my worst nightmare, because I'm a vegetarian, but I'm not a vegan.
Okay.
So if I'm making an omelette and there was a tiny baby chicken in there, I would never eat again. I would give up eating, because I think it would be so vile.
Well, it's obvious proof that it is.
It's not. They shouldn't be fertilised.
They're in the bath, mate. You can see them having a bath.
I find that actually genuinely disturbing.
They would make nice crispy duck, though. Oh, nice.
You carnivores. I thoroughly disapprove with your lifestyle.
Meat-eating ways.
It's time now to bring you some of the best social media videos from the last 7 days. We're going to start with the American hip-hop star Playboi Carti, who I've totally heard of.
Playboi Carti!
I've totally heard of Playboi Carti. Respect to Playboi Carti. Am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. Who cares?
Playboi Carti.
As I'm sure you all know, he performed at the Wireless Festival in South London last weekend. I was busy. I couldn't make that. Unfortunately for Carti, he misjudged just how long the stage was. And for listeners on GB News Radio...
Oh, my God.
The video shows him running backwards before he falls off the edge of the stage. I mean, that's... Oh, there we go.
How long did he think it went on? It just seemed like it... Did he call it at all? He was way off.
Yeah.
Really didn't calculate that well.
But that's horrible.
We can watch the incident from another angle. It shows Carti was unhurt and was able to run off. So
carry on singing.
I like how he tried to
style it out.
Yeah, big time.
Because Josh, you're a big fan of Playboi Carti, so because you always talk about it, you get going on about
Playboi Carti this, Playboi Carti,
I mean, does he have some fat tunes.
He does have fat tunes, but also he is famous for that's his shtick, is this kind of running backwards thing.
Is it?
Yeah, he raps backwards and he runs backwards, and that's how he sort
This is really true.
No.
Oh. But I fell off a stage in Montreal.
Oh, we've all done it.
Yeah. And I was really hurt. And I had to pretend that I was like, trying to be really brave. And when everyone's laughing and you have to kind of go along with it, even though your eyes are smarting with tears.
It would have been funny if he had started crying.
Yeah.
That would have been... I was like, look, here's a rapper who's really in touch with his emotions.
That'd be incredible.
He's hurt. He's like, guys, I've just hurt. Please, have some sympathy.
We need more rappers and gangster rappers in particular to be just more emotional.
Yeah, just like, oh, I messed up.
So, you see, now, I always... Because when I do stand-up, I always stand very near to the front of the stage. And it was an old habit that I developed really early when I started, because I didn't want the audience to think that I was moving away from them and scared of them.
See, I do the opposite. I find the further I am away from them, the more chance I have of dodging... like weapons.
When people throw stuff at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I've got longer to...
No, well, I wish I did, because, sometimes people do throw stuff. But the thing about it is that I often almost fall, and I have fallen, and it's, because I'm really right up on the edge. But what are you going to do? Anyway, let's move on. Next up, this is a video from the United States. A very lucky escape for one particular partygoer. The person who tweeted the video wrote the comment, awareness level 0, drunkenness level 95, fireproof superpowers 100. And here's what he means. If you're listening on GB News Radio, a man who looked like he might have had a few drinks was dancing while waving some sparklers around. Unsurprisingly, he started a fire, but somehow managed to smother it and put it out. The thing is, he owned it. He styled it out because he extinguished the fire and then danced through it. And I think that's the way that you should handle it.
Playboy Carti he needs to learn lessons. He needs to look at this video and learn this is what it takes.
Yeah, Playboy Carti just run off.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, whatever. This
like a
guy,
little girl.
Yeah, this guy owned it. He was like, yeah, I did it. I'm going to solve the problem, and then we're going to party some more.
But I wasn't quite sure how he put it out. Was it with his own body?
Yeah.
He stamped it out.
Wow, with his own
Which
belly.
actually, I should say, from health and safety perspective, I shouldn't advise anyone at home does that. I think if fires do begin, you should probably contact the fire service.
Yes, don't let an overweight drunk man
dance on your fire.
Dance on the fire.
No. Although it's clearly effective. It totally works. So maybe that's something to consider. Our final video, this was tweeted by the former England footballer Gary, is it Cahill?
Have no idea.
Cahill, who showed a real winning mentality at his kids' school's sports day. Check out what happened when Cahill took part in a sack race with some of the other dads. So if you're listening to that on GB News Radio, Gary Cahill was neck and neck with another dad, and Cahill threw himself face first over the finishing line to win. He tweeted, I just wanted it more. I mean, he won that fair and square, like I won the mini-golf earlier fair and square.
I think there's a bit that's left us with a bit of a bad taste in our mouth, Andrew.
Oh, has it?
I wonder if I can, next sports day, I can sort of go into the women's race. If I can identify as a woman just for that race.
Just for that race,
because I have no chance of medal. I actually genuinely damaged myself properly a couple of years ago at the men's at the school.
Because you're a dad, so I mean, you're.
I had to. You got your look. What you don't understand, you've got your kids there. They're watching you. They're looking up to you. This is your moment to shine in front of your kids and prove that you've got what it takes.
Yes.
And I put my back out for about 3 weeks.
When that happens, is it possible for them to respect you again?
No.
So this is my fear about having children, is that you've got to maintain this sort of standard.
Yeah.
And actually, this is why your kids hate you.
I wouldn't say hate, but utterly disrespect, absolutely.
Well, when I met them, they said some pretty nasty stuff. And they did mention something about a sports day.
Just going to do
I think you need to eat on your emotions.
Eat through it, Josh. Eat through it. OK, now, earlier in the show, I spoke about Boris Johnson and whether Brexit will go when he goes. And we've got some more responses that have been sent in. Thank you very much for responding. Here's one from Stephen. It wasn't Boris's Brexit, it was voted for by the British public.
Got the apostrophe right. Well, Boris, well done. So that proves that people who vote for Brexit aren't stupid.
No, exactly, because you'd be surprised how many people get apostrophes wrong.
Good for you, mate.
Now, we've also been pondering who will be the next Prime Minister. So Jill says, I support Ben Wallace for next PM. I also think Nadine Dorries and Liz Truss would make good PM. So, I mean, that's in line with what the asparagus told us
Nadine
earlier.
Dorries, this person is not so intelligent.
Well, I mean, but Ben Wallace, perhaps the asparagus thinks Ben Wallace. I think there's something in that. But anyway, let's move on.
I wonder what Lidl's asparagus would say.
I bet she probably chose a Waitrose one.
Yeah.
That's why it came with.
It looked like Waitrose to me.
She chose a supermarket of the people and found out what.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't know how much we can trust vegetables when it comes to.
That's because you're not a believer. What, you're going to get all offended because of cheese's toasty, whatever.
I was offended by that.
But the asparagus thing, that's her religion. You respect it.
I don't respect it.
Okay, well, fine.
And what about this one from David? I've never had a crush on a gay man before, but your Sunday night show is my must-see TV show of the week, possibly because of your intellect, fairness, funniness, good humour and insight, or possibly because you're a hunk.
Oh,
I mean, David, just tell me something I don't know. I mean,
really, that's the best message anybody's ever sent.
I get them all the time. I'm actually getting a bit sick of it, like this constant praise. It's really hard to be admired constantly in your life. You guys won't understand.
I wouldn't know, but
it's and objectified, sexually objectified wherever I go. I mean, it's exhausting and offensive.
Even by straight men.
Even by straight men.
Respect.
Well, they're straight for now.
Okay,
you know, a few Stellas in and.
But hey, it's nice to know you've got those fans out there.
I've still got them.
You've still got that fan out there.
Like the fan.
I mean,
he cheats. He cheats.
Well, look, it is a fan, and to be fair, he sends the same message every day, and I don't get them from other people. But don't take it away from me. There's lots more to come in the final part of Friday Night Feast. We're going to meet another national treasure, and we'll ask if you can find a place in your heart and your home for Dog of the Week. See you shortly.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late-night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News. Mark Dolan tonight, full reaction to the fallout from Boris Johnson's resignation. In The Big Question, what is his legacy? We'll debate that with his biographer, Tom Bauer. Reacting to the big stories of the day are my panel, including Boris Johnson supporting commentator Sophie Corcoran and the Prime Minister's former top aide, Kulveer Ranger. My Mark Meets guest is boxing legend Duke McKenzie. And in my big opinion monologue, my verdict on Boris Johnson's 3 years at the helm. See you at 9.
Welcome back to the Friday Night Feast. There's lots to get through between now and 9 o'clock. Let's get cracking and meet this week's national treasure. If you're a new viewer or listener, this is the part of the show where we recognise someone who has done something extra special for charity or their local community. And I promise you that Martin Healy definitely qualifies as a national treasure. Over the last 20 years, Martin has raised more than £200,000 for charity. I'm delighted to say Martin joins me in the studio right now. Martin, thank you for coming in.
Thanks very much for inviting me.
Could you tell us a little bit about what it is you do?
Yeah, so I do things a bit differently. So I'm a former paratrooper, and if you'd say to a dentist, would you sponsor him to clean his teeth? It's like saying no. So would you sponsor a paratrooper to run 25 miles? Probably not.
Yeah.
So would you sponsor him to do it with a washing machine on his back? Then potentially you do. So I try and raise the profile of the charities that I'm supporting by doing something a little bit different, and also hopefully raise that extra bit of cash.
We can see the images there of you with the washing machine on your back. I mean, they are heavy, right? I mean, I couldn't do it. Let me put it that way. I can't even lift it, I don't think.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie, the concrete block was taken out, but it still weighed about 85 pounds. That's about 42 kilos. So it was a good weight.
Why did you choose a washing machine particularly?
I'm too short for a fridge freezer.
Ah, yeah, that's a good point. But other white goods you could have gone with?
Yeah, a toaster would have been a great idea.
Toaster?
I'd definitely knock some time off.
And do a lot of people respond well to this? I mean,
yeah, brilliantly. So I was running that one for a charity called SNAP, which is supporting sick newborn and their parents, based in Oxfordshire, and they do a huge amount of work for the parents and the NHS staff in the hospital. So that was a great opportunity to raise the profile of the charity.
Is this a similar kind of thing to what you do as a paratrooper, you know, in training and things?
Well, yeah, you do carry heavy weights. You don't necessarily carry white goods.
Okay.
But, yeah, during my time, I deployed on operation 7 times, and you're carrying in excess of about 120, 130 pound in hot conditions for long periods of time. So
yeah, so you're used to it, in other words. This is something...
Maybe I was when I was serving, but that was 8 years ago now, so it's a bit of a shock to the system.
And what other sort of events have you done to raise
So I did the Barcelona Marathon as the Captain America, the Olympic London Triathlon as the Incredible Hulk, a mental health charity called Restore, based in Oxfordshire, uses gardening as therapeutic activity for people with severe and enduring mental illnesses. So I did that as an 11-foot tree. So just generally things that stand out, so people ask about it and then subsequently ask about the charity. And I was really fortunate to be invited onto the radio and said, you know, would you sponsor someone, or would you buy someone a pint if they ran a marathon with a washing machine on their back? And if you would, well, perhaps you'd sponsor the charity to do that.
I suppose that's the point, isn't it? If you come up with an interesting angle to it, it makes people much more likely to sponsor you.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're sat at home and you think, you know, people go out and run marathons every day, but that guy's gone and done it with a washing machine on his back, so it's probably worth a pint. So
yeah, no,
I'd do that.
I think it's a good idea. Josh, have you ever done anything like this?
No, of course not. But I just wanted to know, Martin. I mean, are you jealous of like Sir Tom? Like when he was doing, you just like, mate, he's just walking to the garden. I'm running around with a washing machine on my back, and he's just walking back and forth. This is ridiculous.
I think some people are very fortunate about the coverage that they can get, but anyone that does anything for charity, I think, is fabulous. You know, there isn't enough money. You would hope that the government could provide the money that these services provide, but it's not. So we're reliant on people to go and do crazy things or, you know, strange things to try and raise the money for it.
But I mean, at the moment in particular, when the cost of living crisis is on, it's going to be a lot harder for charities to raise money.
It is. So I've decided, you know, what can I do next? So in May, I'll be doing the 3 peaks, so Snowdonia, Scafell Pike and Ben Nevis with the washing machine on my back.
Really?
Yeah, well, lots of people do it, you know, to try and raise a bit of money. So I'm going to do it with the washing machine on my back to try and raise a bit more money.
But it's also, that's clever, because also as you go on, you can just keep on stopping, wash your clothes, get rid of the BO.
That's a good point.
Move on. You're going to be like the most well-dressed person at the top of the mountains.
I had a friend who did Ben Nevis recently, and she said it was terrifying, and she said that it's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Even without a washing machine on your back.
It can be, especially the time. So we're going to be doing it next May, and anyone can sign up to do it with the charity SNAP with 2 S's.
Yeah.
Anyone can sign up to do it. When you go on their homepage, there's a little link at the top. You can come and walk up Ben Nevis and Scafell Pike and Snowdonia or Snowdon with me.
See, I've done Snowdon on the train. Does that count?
Yeah. That's potentially. Yeah,
okay. Well, I mean,
did you pay for it?
Did I pay for the train? I did, yeah. But I didn't get anyone to sponsor me.
Oh, well, not quite then.
No, OK, fair enough. And Martin, so apparently someone stole your washing machine, is this right?
Yeah, so it's proved to be quite a good thing. So I'm not quite sure you'd have known about it or invited me on if you'd known, but I'm sure it was all in goodwill, but there was a few metal things out and about, and this was in my carport, so it wasn't as if it was hanging around outside my house.
Yeah.
And it was caught on my next-door neighbour's Zoom, a kind of flatbed taking people's bikes and scooters and anything else that was metal. And I'm sure it was a very genuine accident. This came live because I went on social media and asked if it could be replaced, because actually the washing machine itself had special brackets and hinges, so it
could fit on your back.
Yeah,
properly.
well, the back of a washing machine isn't normally designed to take the whole weight of it. The four legs are,
No,
so
sure.
it needed to be kind of welded a bit to make
more
sure
weight.
it stayed on my back. Yeah, so a bit more weight, really.
So so this person who stole it, it wasn't because they thought, oh, that's a washing machine that I can use.
I wouldn't have thought so. I can't imagine he felt like running, or she felt like running around with it on their back as well. I guess it was probably a scrap metal worth, though.
Did you get it back, though?
Tragically not, no. So I have asked, and maybe they'll see this and think, perhaps I'll drop it off back, in which case they can drop it off any time. It would be really appreciated.
Yes.
If not, there have been many volunteers that have said that they've got an old washing machine, and some really, really lovely people in Oxfordshire that said they're happy to weld it and fix it so I can take another one up.
So you'll be able to adapt and get another one if you have to. But hopefully, if someone is watching, if you are a washing machine thief and you stole this particular washing machine, just give it back. It's for charity. You know?
That would be lovely.
It would be good, wouldn't it? So just remind everyone, please, where they can donate or support your cause.
The best thing to do would be to go onto the Snap website. That's 2 S's. There are a couple of charities called Snap. This is the one that's for sick and premature newborn babies based in Oxfordshire. And on any page of the website, there's a donate button. I'd kind of say a pint, so it depends. I'm from Grove Rugby Club, so a pint's only £3.50.
In London, it's about 20
But
quid.
London, it's, let's say, £7 or £8. So let's call it a £5 perhaps. If you'd love to go onto the Snap website and donate the value of £5, that would make a real, real difference. And I personally am up to about £210,000 now, so I'm hoping to hit $250,000 in the next couple of years.
Can I ask, how do you feel? Do you have children?
Yeah, 2.
Do you think that they can manage your charity when you die successfully, or do you think they're going to be sort of done in for running it?
Well, do you know what? Honestly, so I couldn't do it without them. There's so many times. So the London Marathon, I was dressed as a kind of 9.5, 10-foot gorilla in a cage, and I was actually in the cage, but my legs were in the gorilla. And it was the hottest marathon ever. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. And round about the 17-mile mark, I was flagging, and I saw my 2 children waving, and they came out and ran with me. And that gave me legs for about another 8 miles.
So a lot of it's psychological when it gets to that point.
Yeah. I think it goes back, without being melodramatic, it goes back to the kind of paratrooper concept of going on operations and having to do things.
Yeah.
So the first half mile of anything is the hardest because you're getting to grips with it. And then the further you get through something, the closer you are to the finish line, so it's easier.
And once you've done the peaks, I mean, that's a huge challenge.
Yes.
Do you have a dream challenge that you haven't yet done?
I do.
Go on, then.
So 8 countries in 8 days. So starting in England, going across to Holland, dropping through Belgium, coming through, tipping Germany and France, going down the French border, Italy into Switzerland, and then Switzerland into Italy. No, I'm thinking either cycling it or an Olympic marathon in each country in each day. An Olympic triathlon in each country each day.
You know what would make it a lot easier is if we join the EU again. Then I'm sure.
Yeah.
He's always going on about Brexit. He's got to find a way to get it in. It's not about you or Brexit.
Right. Well, we might struggle with vaccinations and having to do that.
There we go. Exactly.
So, but yeah, 8 countries in 8 days. That's
and you're
the 2024.
a glutton for punishment, aren't you?
That's going to be the 2024 challenge that people can sponsor.
That is ambitious, but very commendable. That's amazing. I wish I had an ounce of this ability, frankly. Fantastic. Thank you, Martin, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. Now to the part of the show I've been looking forward to all evening. It's Dog of the Week. Now, last week we brought you the heartwarming story of Aurora, who we featured on this show back in May and has now found a forever home. Tonight, we're asking if someone can find it in their hearts to give Margot a second chance. Margot is a German Shepherd and is 2 years old. We can see her there. She was a stray when she went to Teckle's Animal Sanctuary near Gloucester more than a year ago. Margot, as you can see, is full of life and loves training. So to find out more about Margot, we can speak to Shelby Tunstall, who's a kennel assistant at Teckle's. Shelby, thanks very much for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And now, as you know, this isn't the first time you've spoken to us on Friday Night Feast. Can you tell us a little bit about Margot in particular?
So Margot came as a stray. She came in at about 1.5 years. She's now probably around 2.5. She's been with us for about a year, well, 1.5 years. Unfortunately, she wasn't claimed. There was no one, we couldn't find her owner. So she was signed over to us, ready to rehome her. But we have struggled to find her forever family. The best thing about her is she is an absolute water baby. If there is a pool, a stream, any kind of water, she is in it. She's jumping around, splashing. She absolutely loves it. But she's just she's not socialised very well. So gets a bit reactive when she sees other dogs. So we need a home with no other pets for her. And I think that's proven a bit difficult.
Would Margot be appropriate for a home where there are children, for instance, or a family?
No, I think because we're not sure whether she's actually ever been in a home, it's likely that she's never been in a house. So she's got a lot of worries. So I think it's probably going to be more appropriate for her to be in an adult-only home, just to kind of get her used to life and let her know that the world isn't that scary, and kind of live with people that are going to appreciate that she needs settling in. She's going to be a bit slow. She needs someone to give her space. A rural area would be amazing, but kind of on the opposite side of that, although she's a bit reactive toward other dogs, she's also really cuddly, and she wants to come on the sofa and have an ear scratch and a belly scratch and chill on your lap on the sofa, not realising that she's too big for your lap.
Because I assume a lot of the dogs that you have, they sometimes find it difficult to re-engage with people, but that doesn't sound like that's the case with Margot.
No, so Margot with people is absolutely fine. It's dogs that she's unfortunately afraid of. And that's kind of common at the minute with a lot of our dogs. Obviously, due to lockdown, there was no dogs around, no people around. So now they're kind of just not used to it. They were never introduced to other dogs from a young age. So now it's just really daunting for them. So hopefully one day we can get her to a stage where she'll be happy around other dogs. But for now, it's just not for her.
Now, I think you do absolutely amazing work, but I can't help but wonder how the cost of living crisis has affected your work in particular.
Massively. So unfortunately, it's meant that some people can't afford to look after their animals. So we've got more sign-overs. Unfortunately, our waiting list is as long as it's never been as big, but we're completely full at the moment with our dogs, so we aren't able to take in any extras. Obviously, we're struggling fundraising wise. There's not as many people that are willing to donate because obviously they can't afford to. So we're struggling trying to get like fundraisers that would have earned us quite a lot of money have significantly reduced. So we're trying to think of new out of the box ways to kind of maybe try and get people to take part in fundraising for us.
And it's such a difference, isn't it? Because, you know, back at the start of the pandemic, dogs seemed to be in great demand and people were seeking them out. Did you notice that?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously everybody wanted a dog. It was a great time to get a dog because everybody was at home. But unfortunately now we're seeing the kind of backlash of that people have gone to work and now don't have time for their dogs, or again, they're not socialised very well. So unfortunately they've got behaviour problems and people just don't know how to deal with that and therefore want to sign over. So it's kind of, it's an ongoing ripple effect.
So, Shelby, when you were on the show before, of course, you were talking about Buttercup, who is another one of your dogs. And I just wondered if I've heard you've had some interest in Buttercup. Isn't that the case?
So we did have a phone call. She has had a meet, luckily, from off the back of the show. She's had some interest. It didn't work out. I don't think the kind of family were matched for Margot. So unfortunately, she is still with us. If anybody does want to adopt Buttercup, sorry, I said Margot then, didn't I? If anybody does want to adopt Buttercup, she is still with us. But yeah, that was amazing. So coming on here and talking to you really helps us and it spreads the word because we're only a small charity. So it was absolutely amazing.
So, I mean, it looks like it's possible then that these appearances will hopefully help some of these dogs to find a home. It's so important, isn't it? How long have you worked there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked there for 2.5 years now. But even if people see us on the show and think, well, that dog isn't for us, even just head into our website, we have so many others that might be a perfect fit. So it helps us in that way as well. It just gives us exposure.
Well, I wish you all the best, and I really do appreciate all of the great work that you do. Thanks, Shelby, so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Josh, you're a dog person, aren't you?
No.
No?
If she's interested in taking children, it sounds like everything that she said about children, about dogs during the COVID.
I would have thought you would want
but I've got 5 kids. You think I want a dog as well?
No, because surely...
Happy birthday
what on earth?
to you. Happy birthday to you.
It's not my birthday.
It was happy birthday,
a few days ago. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Well, do you know what? I would say the thing is that I care about accuracy. My birthday was a few days ago, so
but you didn't tell us. It lasts a week or so, and this was sent in from David, your fan online.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's totally safe to eat.
I'm sure there's no suspicious ingredients in there.
Colin the caterpillar.
Wow.
Or actually, it's for you.
A real one, as opposed to...
So this is one of the... Do you know what? So I've never really got on board with this whole caterpillar cake thing, because people are insane about it. They love it. What is it so great about these
things? Remember Gay Pride? They had like the gay...
Oh, they didn't have a stripy rainbow Colin.
No, Colin and a Colin and
gay caterpillars.
Yeah.
I don't know if there are gay caterpillars.
And a coral.
Yes,
okay, well, no, we won't try now, and I don't want to damage it, because it's a work of art, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It is.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't normally celebrate birthdays. I don't really bother.
Really? But you went on holiday?
I did go on holiday, yes.
Yeah.
That wasn't really a celebration. It wasn't really my idea.
Okay.
But I very much enjoyed it.
Oh, your darn partner trying to show you some love. And
there you are, Sajina.
There might be a message from one of the deities if you cut through it. Who knows?
Do you ever get depressed by birthdays, though? Because I think about this. Yeah. I think one of the reasons why a lot of people avoid it is because what happens is you are reminded that you are a year closer to death.
Yeah.
And
that's why I get depressed during my wife's birthdays.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind?
I actually love celebrating everything, but the two times I get a little bit down is on my birthday. I love Christmas, and then New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, I don't know what it is. Well, the thing, come on,
you're meant to have fun.
And it's like, oh, why am I here? What am I doing? It's
you know
where I am.
You know what I think it is with me is I don't like being the centre of attention, right? So
if there's hosting a TV show.
But this is a job. This is a job. And I'm a comedian, but that's a persona I inhabit. But, you know, I don't want to be in a party where I'm the one that everyone... This is why I'll never get married, because I don't like the idea of having to dress up and everyone looking at you, clapping, you know, appreciating you.
I get that. Like, so on my wedding, I did say, can you dim the lights? Everyone's staring at me.
And you didn't like it?
I didn't like it. So everyone stared at me, and I was like, my sister goes, "You are the bride."
I was fortunate because no one looked at me during my wedding at all.
Because it's always the bride.
But Josh, can I ask
you, very judgy.
Being the person who has reproduced the most in this room,
in the world,
probably. I mean, you know, birthdays, constant events, constant gifts.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute nightmare. And you know, every time you're like, oh, Josh, can you come on? It's like, no, I'm doing this kid's birthday party. This whole weekend is going to be me literally shepherding kids. I'm the only driver in the family, so I'm going to be shepherding the kids back and forth all weekend. That's my weekend. And you see me on Monday, and I'm just absolutely shattered.
And yet you're here a lot of the time, and I think, how do you...
Trying to escape, because every time I can do it, I'm just like, I will see you in half an hour.
Do you ever forget about birthdays or anything like that?
No, not my kids, but I do forget. Like, I'm on so many parents' WhatsApp groups. It's insane. And I've given up, and then my kid will come back, say, like on a Monday after school, and they'll say, oh, we didn't go to Thingy-Bob's birthday because I'd forgotten to look. And he's like, really? I mean, it's...
Honestly,
it costs so much money as well.
It would be much easier if we just didn't celebrate them. What do you think, Sajina?
No, I like, because we need some celebrations in life. I like any excuse for a party, but you need to cut those mums and dads groups out once your kids are grown up. Just cut them loose.
No, well, even though some of them have moved on, now I'm in like more than 5 groups because I got like secondary school group and still the primary school groups. It's crazy.
And it ends up being that all your friends are parents, and that's what they have in common is that they
can procreate.
You have united through your fertility.
Yeah, which if you're lucky, you do end up with a few friends who you would actually be friends with in real life, and that's a real blessing.
OK, well, we've learnt a lot about Josh and his family and why he is the way he is. Anyway, it's almost time for me to go. But first, this was the week when an elderly man sneaked into Wimbledon Centre Court by hiding in Andy Murray's sports bag. And after the Conservative Party was hit by a string of sexual misconduct scandals, Sajid Javid might have chosen a better time to visit Lickey End School. Did he really do that? Goodness me. Boris Johnson's last-ditch plan to stay in charge was revealed, with Nadine Dorries as Deputy Prime Minister, Chancellor, Home Secretary and 15 other cabinet positions. And at the end of a dramatic week in Downing Street, the Prime Minister is already looking for a new job. God love him. Of course, Patrick Christys will be back next Friday, and he wants to hear from you if you've got an idea for a challenge Christys. So why not email him at patrick@gbnews.uk. Up next on GB News is Mark Dolan Tonight. You can catch me on Free Speech Nation from 7 p.m on Sunday. And don't forget about Headliners, which is every night at 11 p.m. And that's where comedians take you through the next day's newspapers. I think, Josh, you're on very soon, aren't you? Tomorrow, I think.
Please get me back in as soon as possible.
Yes, to get escape from your children. Thank you very much for joining me this evening. Good night.
Hello again, I'm Stephen with your latest forecast brought to you by the Met Office. And this weekend ahead looks pretty good for many places. Lots of fine, dry, warm, sunny weather to be had. Light winds emphasising that warm feel as well. One or two exceptions though. The far north of Scotland, we'll see some showers to take us through into Saturday morning. And we'll see this area of cloud just pushing its way further south into parts of Wales and the Midlands. The odd spot of drizzle on it, but a lot of places will be dry and a lot of places seeing clear skies to take us into Saturday morning. Temperature